That was interesting. Hello, you clowns, and welcome back to my circus. Today is the first day of my month of horror. I tried giving a subtle hint in the last video about what this first movie is going to be. I don't know if anybody got it, if anybody cared, if they had time to, because I'm releasing these pretty close together. But if you did, congratulations. If you got the hint, then you know today we are kicking off our month of horror with The Unborn, released in 2009, written and directed by David S. Goyer. This movie was recommended to me actually by a family friend of mine named Dan, and the list randomizer perfectly placed it at number one. Like, how much better can putting a movie about like a baby or like unborn at the very beginning, like mind-blowing. It's like it knew. I had never heard about this movie before, so I decided to watch the trailer before I actually dove in, and I wanted to just dip my toe in and see kind of what I was getting myself into, and I wish I hadn't. The trailer gave me a sense of dread that was not out of fear of watching the movie because it was scary, more just because it looked exactly like a classic 2000s movie that was just a cash grab that the studio really didn't give a crap about. After watching it, I can say it was not amazing, but I didn't hate it completely. A fairly straightforward storyline was beaten over the head of the viewer as they overcomplicated what should have been a simple enough story. The movie starts very abruptly, not really letting us have any connection to the main character or even having the slightest inkling about what's going on.
Not safe to be around me.
I still don't feel like I know our leading lady, and I watched the entire film, the unrated version actually that had more, and some behind the scenes footage to kind of try and understand her a little bit more, but I didn't get much of anything out of her, actually. To me, it was fairly obvious that the studio just picked a really pretty girl that had a nice body that looked good in white panties and just had her run around in them half the runtime. Megan Fox plays... No, Megan, you're early. Sorry. I mean, Odette Yustman plays Casey Belden. Casey is a college student who starts having these weird dreams about a little boy who has these piercing blue eyes. Accompanying the kid in her dreams and her visions are dogs that heads turn 180 degrees like they're trying to pull a Reagan, and a slew of potato bugs that hide in eggs and glory holes. After a little bit of an accident, her eye starts to turn blue, and after a trip to the doctor, she finds out that she had a twin brother that died in the womb when her umbilical cord wrapped around his neck, strangling him. Seriously. You can't make this shit up. For those of you who are confused, look it up. It's not possible at all. They're in completely different sacks. Just believe me. The inclusion of Jewish mythology, including and I think I'm saying this correctly, die book, which should look like this, shifts the story from more of a haunting to a possession. Without getting into too much detail, the story is alright. Too convoluted for my liking, but decent enough to sit through. For me, it falls flat on its face in the finale, and its twist ending was more than predictable. But the only thing worse than that ending was Casey's friend Romy, played by Megan Good. Yikes! Don't get me wrong, the dialogue for the movie was pretty bad across the board, but hers was far worse. Written, I'm assuming, as the comedic relief, because that's all she was doing the entire time, was just making jokes. She came across way more bitchy and annoying than she was actually funny or like even slightly unaware of the situation. She's a forgettable character that fights too hard to be the funny voice of reason, but I do have to give credit where credit is due because Rami did have one of the funniest lines throughout the entire film. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a clip of it, so I'm gonna have to describe it as best as I can, which sorry in advance. Basically, she and Casey are at a nursing home talking to this old woman, and they say something that makes the old woman kick them out because it scares her. And while they're out in the parking lot, Casey's kind of leaning up against her car thinking, because obviously a lot is going on. I forget exactly what the context is, but Romy comes up and says something along the lines of, "You're gonna believe what they say in there? They have Alzheimer's." Obviously referring to Alzheimer's, but I just thought it was so funny. I don't know why. And even, I think when I went to IMDb, they said that she said old timers, but I heard Alzheimer's. But it doesn't matter. She didn't say the correct word, and I don't know if that was part of the joke, if it was even meant to be a joke, because there are not many parts of this movie, I think, that are very jokey. It takes itself very seriously in a lot of it. Gary Oldman is in this. He plays a rabbi who tries to help Casey understand fully what she's up against, although he looks bored the entire time. However, we do get quickly introduced to Idris Elba, of all people, who makes a surprising appearance as a basketball coach slash pastor, I guess. Idris is by far the best acting this movie sees. The tragic part of it all is that he's only in the movie for 10 minutes, maybe even less than that. But can you believe that that 10 minutes of screen time led him to get a nomination for a BET Best Actor Award? You don't believe me? It's right here. Crazy. Shocking, really. In conclusion, I think this movie got caught up in explaining everything, which is ultimately its downfall. Besides a bunch of predictable jump scares, 14 to be exact, and maybe even more, I don't know if I counted all, the atmosphere does little to lend it any creepiness, and the CGI was not good enough. There was a very specific practical effect that I cannot say because it's part of a spoiler, but it looks very good, and I wish we saw more of it. It looked amazing. Other than that, that's really all I have to talk about on it, because it just moved too fast, it had too much going on, and the actors didn't really seem to care unless you're named Idris Elba, because you got a Best Actor nom. IMDb gave it a 4.8 out of 10, while Letterboxd gave it a 1.9 out of 5. And I think those are pretty accurate scores. Personally, for myself, I'm gonna have to give it a 5.5, and that's about the highest I could go. I couldn't see myself pushing it up to a 6. Do I recommend this movie to you? Not particularly. It wasn't horrible. I would not pay for it. I had to rent it, which sucked. If you don't have to pay for it, then yes, watch it, because it's interesting enough, I guess. Once I start introducing the Jewish mythology of it all, it gets a little bit more interesting, but not enough to save the score. Thank you so much for watching day 1 of my month of horror. Somewhere in this video, I said kind of a hint about what tomorrow's video is going to be. You probably caught it, and if you didn't, just go back. I don't think this video is very long. I haven't edited it yet, but I don't think it's going to be very long. And see if you can guess it. And if you think you know what it is, guess in the comments, because I want to see. Also in the comments, if you've seen this movie, let me know what you think. And if you haven't seen it, tell me if you want to see it, because I'm very interested to see what other people's opinions on it are. I'm going to have to ask Dan if he liked it or not, because when I went out and gave people the green light to give me these recommendations, I told them to give me things that are good, bad, and like horrible. And I don't know what he gave me, if he liked it or not, so we'll have to see. Movies resonate with different people differently, and it's okay to have different opinions, so there's no need to get mad at me, and I'm not gonna get mad at you for having different opinions on a movie. I just want to have a nice conversation, a healthy conversation, and talk about it, because you have to appreciate that they even made a film. Have you made a film? Exactly. Also, don't forget to give this a like and subscribe, because I will be doing 30 more days, at least 30 more, and I think I might do a wrap-up as well, so maybe 31 more. That's a lot. This takes a lot of work, because I'm taking a lot of time out of my day to do this stuff. So, you should subscribe, like, follow me on all my social medias at I'm a Harlequin. Other than that, I hope you have a great day, great night, whichever, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one.